The 7 a.m. bell had just gone off at the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary on June 12, 1962, when guards began their routine head count of the inmates. One of the guards in charge of the prison's Block B saw an inmate still fast asleep under his covers. So he stretched his hand into the cell to tap the inmate's head, but to his surprise, the head rolled onto the floor. It was a dummy head and the inmate was nowhere to be found. The guard checked nearby cells and discovered 2 other inmates missing. It soon dawned on the guards that the men had escaped, so they instituted a lockdown and the search for the fugitives began. The guards uncovered a secret workshop where the 3 inmates had been building objects to execute the prison break: a hole in the ceiling and footprints on the roof. A successful escape attempt from this maximum security prison was deemed impossible until this day, but guards still kept hope that men would be found and returned to the prison. They could not be more wrong. The FBI, Coast Guard, and Bureau of Prison Authorities joined in on the search, but there were no signs of the men anywhere. On December 31st, 1979, the FBI closed its file on the Alcatraz prison escape investigation without any definite answers. No one has heard from any of the men since that day. Let us take you through the prison break of Alcatraz and the conspiracy theories regarding the aftermath of the escape. Alcatraz. Located on an island 2 kilometers off of San Francisco Bay and surrounded by water of 48 degrees to 56 degrees Fahrenheit, was initially designed to hold military prisoners. According to the National Park Service, it was the world's largest reinforced concrete building in 1912. In 1933, it was converted into a federal prison to secure dangerous prisoners that tended to break out of other U.S. penitentiaries. It was considered impossible to break out of Alcatraz until 4 inmates, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, Frank Morris, and Alan West, devised a plan that left prison authorities doubting the prison's own security integrity. John Anglin and his brother, Clarence Anglin, were sentenced to 35 years in prison to be served at the Atlanta Penitentiary for robbing the Columbia Savings Bank, alongside a 3rd brother, Alfred. However, the brothers attempted to escape from the prison, so they were transferred to Alcatraz. Frank Lee Morris was handed his first criminal conviction at age 13 and has served several criminal sentences since then. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for a bank robbery and placed in Louisiana State Penitentiary, where he successfully escaped from. He was later caught a year after committing a burglary and sent to Alcatraz. Alan West landed in Alcatraz after attempting to escape from Florida State Prison, where he was jailed for car theft. All 4 men were familiar with one another from their times in other penitentiaries, so back in 1960, West revealed to Morris that the ventilation grills in Block B cells of Alcatraz were not sealed off with concrete like other parts of the prison. The plan was to escape to the rooftop through the opening. The inmates brought the Anglin brothers on board, and by September of 1961, they had put in transfer requests to cells adjacent to each other in Block B. Surprisingly, the proposals were all approved in December, and the men set the wheels in motion. They got permission to do maintenance work on the landing area above the cell block, and turned the area into a secret workshop where they built all the equipment needed for the escape. The men molded dummy heads from soap, concrete, and flesh-toned paint, then covered them with human hair. They stole 50 raincoats over time, stitched together to form life preservers and a 6 by 14 feet rubber raft. The life preservers and raft were inflated using heat from steam pipes and a concertina, since musical instruments were allowed in prison. A handmade paddle was also built using plywood and screws. Each of their cells had a 5-foot by 9.5-foot ventilation grill under the sink. Over 6 months, the men drilled small holes into the 6 inches thick wall surrounding the grills, using spoons stolen from the kitchen and a handmade drill fashioned out of a vacuum cleaner motor. The noise from the drilling was drowned out by sounds from musical instruments. After completing the drilling, they removed the whole grill from the wall and kept the opening hidden by installing fake grills made of cardboard. The opening was the first stage of their escape from prison. On the night of June 11, 1962, all except West crawled through the opening in their walls to emerge in a utility corridor that was left unguarded. West could not escape because the concrete he had used to keep his fake grill in place had hardened, so he was left behind. Then they climbed the 30 feet up to the ceiling using a series of pipes in the corridor. The men removed the ventilation grate at the top of the ceiling and then climbed out to the roof. To prevent guards from noticing them breaking out of their cells, they put the grate back in place with bolts made out of soap. Clutching their equipment, the trio got off the roof by sliding down kitchen pipes at the back of the cell blocks, before cutting through barbed wire and scaling the 12-foot fence. The FBI discovered that Alan West was a part of the escape plan, so he was questioned and divulged details to them under the condition that he wouldn't be tried for the escape. According to West, the men would have headed to the island's northeast shore after leaving the building. They all planned to sail to Angel Island in the raft, then sail another half-mile to Marin County mainland, where they would hijack a car and steal clothes from a store. Since the night the men escaped, they have not been seen, either dead or alive. It's never enough to leave the mystery unsolved, so people have speculated on what happened to the men, using investigation findings and several other inconclusive reports. Which of the concluding theories seems more feasible? Did the fugitives survive or die? Let us go over both theories and the evidence supporting them. With the items recovered in different locations in the water, the odds didn't look good for the fugitives. On June 14th, wood suspected to be the handmade paddle was found in the water off Angel Island. They also found rubber bags containing photos of the Anglin family and friends, paper listing contacts and addresses at the location between Alcatraz and Angel Island. These important personal items did not seem like something the Anglin brothers would leave behind. On June 21st, pieces of raincoat material believed to be from the raft were found near the Golden Gate Bridge. The following day, a deflated life jacket of raincoat material was found 100 yards east of Alcatraz Island. No other physical evidence pertaining to the men was found. On July 17th, over a month after the escape, a Norwegian ship, the SS Norfjell, came across a body floating in the ocean, 15 miles away from the Golden Gate Bridge, but did not report it until October. The body was never recovered, so the identity was not confirmed. Authorities also claimed there were no reports of carjacking or robberies from that day, which the men had planned to commit. On the other hand, some people believe the difficult part of an Alcatraz prison break is escaping out of the building itself and not navigating the water. Numerous people have successfully swam from Alcatraz Island to the mainland, including a 9-year-old boy in 2016 and a woman in Burlingame that has done it many times. The men successfully left the building and had a raft and life vests, making it easier. If the raft and vests failed at some point during the journey, they could have easily swum across. Also, bodies that drown in the water resurface after a few days, but the fugitives were never found despite an intensive search. In 2012, a U.S. Marshal interviewed in a National Geographic documentary claimed that the FBI did come across the raft on Angel Island and a blue Chevy was stolen in Marin County on the day of the escape, but the FBI kept it secret. Coincidentally, a police report was filed reporting an accident where a blue Chevy occupied by 3 men ran another car off Stockton that same night. A letter indicating that the men could be alive resurfaced in 2013. The San Francisco Police Department received a letter which read that it was from 83-year-old John Anglin, who claimed they survived, but Morris died in 2005 and Clarence in 2008. The FBI tested it for fingerprints, but the result was declared inconclusive. In the case of the body spotted close to the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco County Coroner Henry Turkle stated that it had probably belonged to Cecil Herman, a 34-year-old man who had jumped off of the bridge 5 days earlier. The FBI concluded that the men probably drowned before they could make it off Angel Island, but a fraction of the public believed this conclusion to be presumptive. It's been 60 years since the incident, and the breakout has remained a subject of intense debate. Did the escapees survive and go off the grid, or did they drown before reaching the mainland? Join in on this debate, leaving us a comment on what you believe happened to the men. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Likewise, turn on notifications so you never miss a video.